of flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. It's always a pleasure to have you with us as we bring you these programs that give you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And today we have a returning guest, Susan Lax, and we're going to talk, of course, about the work that she does. Not only that, the books that she's written or compiled, actually, from previous wonderful inspirational moments. A Heart's Landscape is the title of the book. We've talked about it before. It is an invitation to the Garden of Moments. Susan, welcome back in 2023. We're here celebrating our 15th year, and you've been working on this and putting this together and presenting it for quite some time, and we thank you so much for being with us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you and all your listeners.
This
Wonderful.
book is sort of a compilation, if you will, of inspirational moments that you have produced, if you will, as sort of a podcast of sorts, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us how that got started, how this then, of course, transformed into this wonderful book.
So the book is actually a collection of morning inspirations. And I've been writing morning inspirations for close to 14 years now. And they go out about 3 times a week, free to anyone who wants them. And they're really just moments. And in that moments, when we take a break to acknowledge a moment, an emotion from the buffet of emotions that we all have arises, and heart awareness happens. And I think when heart awareness happens, a good moment can happen. And one good moment can lead to another. And what a great world would it be if it was full of lots of good moments. And so this book came about because my readers in Morning Inspiration really wanted a collection. Mm-hmm. They wanted something that they could just open the book to and read, and it would bring a moment of heart awareness to them. And, it was hard to do because I had to compile from thousands of morning inspirations.
Yeah.
Only like 100 and something. So it's like your babies, like, oh, which baby do you like the best? and I've evolved, and my work has evolved, and the world has evolved, and the needs of people. And, Richard, I'm a spiritual counselor. I work with people that are at end of life here, and their families, and people that are touched by illness, and mainly cancer. And, being able to let them discover that within them, a moment of hope at any time always lives, because it's just one moment.
Yeah.
And so to share with you where I've gotten since the last time we've spoken, and I believe I spoke to you when I was in Israel last time.
I think you're right, yes.
Right, so now I'm in my Upper West Side, New York City apartment. No beautiful views to be seen. And I, probably in July or so, I had a woman who had said to me, I can't look at myself in the mirror. And she was going through chemotherapy, and she couldn't look at herself through the mirror. She said, I just don't want to look at myself. And I said, wait, you know what? I have this song that I want you to listen to. I listened to this magnificent singer-songwriter named Shira, and her songs are fairy folk singing, and they awaken the heart. And they have a momentum of healing, just like in my work there is. And I just sent her, and I said, just sending you this song. And our session ended, I would think between 15 and 20 minutes, I got a phone call. Oh my God, I saw myself. And the song is called Am I Beautiful? And I realized then that my morning inspirations and my book, A Heart's Landscape, needed another level. They needed to be lifted so they could reach people all over the world with another element, music. And I met Shira, And I said to her, well, what do you think about composing music to my writings, my morning inspirations, my heart's landscape book? And she said, well, give me a book and let's see. Right away, she called me afterwards and she said, we're doing this. And so we have been creating and meeting weekly and discussing. And this Sunday night at 7 o'clock, doors open, but at 7:30, this concert, which is in New York City at B'nai Jeshurun, but it can be watched on Zoom at live stream. So anywhere in the world, someone can watch it. And it is a unique concert of songs that she composed from my writings, my readings of other inspirations, and we're going to quote unquote jam spiritual talk in between. And we have this phenomenal band that's playing with us. And I think it's going to be a moment of light and awareness and spiritual singing together, if you may. And in this world right now that's quite broken on so many levels, it's going to be a beautiful source of light. So I really want to invite you and all of your listeners to please join in with us wherever you are. And you can find all the information on my website at susanplax.com.
Wonderful. Give us the particulars, the date, the time, and the access point. And again, I know through your website.
Yeah, so it's on March 26th, which is this Sunday. And I believe the live streaming will start at 7:30. And there you can click and get a ticket for either to join us locally, if you're in the New York area. And if not, you can sit at home with a glass of wine or a cup of tea and watch us via live stream. And yeah.
SusanPlax.com is the website. We certainly hope that you will avail yourselves of that, folks. As we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we're talking with Susan P. Lax, and we're talking, of course, about her work and now something that has developed into, again, a concert on the 26th, coming out of A Heart's Landscape, which is a book that Susan has compiled. I'm going to lie right now and say I'm not a real fan of poetry. And the reason I say I'm going to lie is because 99% of the music that's out there, specifically vocal with instrumental, is poems, if you will, put to music, even though the songwriter was, quote unquote, writing a song. If you were to take the music away and place it in stanza format, however you want to do that, they're poems. There are those, some of my favorite artists are storytellers. All right, they can be poetic too, certainly. Right. But actually, I am a fan of poetry because some of the lyrics of some of the songs, and I can see how she took your book and probably opened the very first page to the very first inspirational moment, morning inspiration. Boom, the melody started to roll around in her head, I'm sure.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And in particular, it was, and by the way, if you want to find out more about Shira, just go to Shira, SHIRA, official.com. And her music is found on Spotify and wherever you listen to music. And, she really, she sings from a place in her heart that is poetic. And I think that's where we both, I say in one of the things that I wrote, and I'm going to read in the concert, is that we're generations apart, but our heart was born from the same place. And I think in the music, like you're saying, it lifted it to a different element, because like you, there are people that perhaps don't, poetry, I don't listen to poetry, right? I listen to music, right? And the music is what awakens them. But if you take the music that she's composed to this and these amazing musicians that are playing with this, oh my God, they're like unbelievable. And you take that to someone who says poetry perhaps is not my cup of tea, all of a sudden they'll be in a different realm. And that's really what the idea was behind here. You know, we talk about soul talk, and soul talk comes in so many different versions. So this is just another one.
Yeah, and I have to say that in a personal growth program I went through back in the 90s, I was in a dyad, as they call them, two people, with a gal who lived in the Azores off of the Portuguese peninsula. Anyway, and but she was American. And I got close to her, got to know her and everything. And I wrote these series of stanzas. And I'm still looking for the lyrics. I'm still looking for the paper that I typed it on and made sure every single, because we're talking back then, there was no computer. You know, you had to hit every key correctly. And after I wrote it, it was like the melody just appeared. It just appeared in my head. I mean, even the first line was 3 nights and a weekend is all we had together. Now it sounds like a love song, but it's not. It's more a song about a connection that we had within the program that we were in, and the things that we learned about ourselves, and how special she was to me, as far as that kind of a situation where she helped me to grow, and hopefully I helped her as well. Not that that was necessarily my intent, but I find that interesting where you can come across these kinds of things. I would, Shira is someone. How did you come to connect with her to make all of this happen?
So I know Shira's mom from a whole nother world, right? And so I had been listening to her music, but then the music became more and more a part of what I was listening to, not only for myself, but using it for people I was guiding. And that's really how I really got to listen to her music on my own, not through her mom. I just knew that. And it's funny because when we first started working together, you know, she said, well, you know, because if you've seen my book, and so in it, there are stories, there are prose, and there are poems, right? They're all different kinds. And it's really hard to take a story. Sometimes it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But there were words that were so profound to her that it just came to her, and her talent of giving it like a beat with a drum and then doing more soft. And she's a ukulele player. So part of that. And there was one thing that I wrote, which the first line is, "Hey, Joy, I'm calling you." And she said she said was as if I had written a song. And I wrote that after we had started working together. So I wonder if that rubbed off on me too, because I'm not a singer. As a matter of fact, I was told I'm not allowed to sing on the stage. I have to be far away from the microphone when the communal singing is happening.
I hear you.
But I love music. Music lifts my soul. It lifts my moment. And I see when I work with people, especially people at end of life, when I suggest to the family, let's find a tune for that person or for you. Let's fill the room with that. And it's always something that was meaningful. And so many times I've seen people at the end of life that when they heard something, you saw that last smile. It's that wonderful embrace of music that can do that to us. And sometimes it can be a reading, and sometimes it can be a Bible. But for so many people, it is a music. It's a tune. It's something there.
And everybody has a song, even whether they can sing. It doesn't matter whether you can sing or not.
Right.
You have a song inside of you. I worked with a woman here in Santa Barbara. she has a program that's called An Odyssey of Song. And in exchange for her taking me through that 12-step or 12-chapter program of finding my song at that time, I helped to produce a few things for her. And what came out of that not only was my song that I've since produced, but also last November of 2022, I was thinking about my dad, who was 91. And all of a sudden, these words just came up, and the melody followed almost immediately. And I grabbed my phone because the last time one of these songs came up, I couldn't get my phone because I was driving. And so I recorded it, at least the chorus line. And then I was able to add to it the verses, which I sing the chorus line, I speak the verses, because it just seemed appropriate. And I delivered that at my father's memorial service on the 10th of March of this year.
Wow. And
I delivered it the way I said I would do it. And I sang the chorus line. And basically it was, Daddy, I know how much you love me. Daddy, I know how much you care. I wouldn't be half the man I am if you hadn't been there. Because my father did not feel as though he had really that much influence in our upbringing. He gives all the credit to my mother. And it's like, you have got to be kidding. You should have heard the words from my brother and 3 remaining sisters. And the things they said about him. It's like, really? If you were still alive and listening to this, you would realize you had a bigger influence on us than you realize. But anyway, these moments come. And it seems to me so important. Talk to us a little bit about this aspect of whether it turns into a song or not. When you get these inspirational thoughts, you need to grab a pen and paper, grab your phone and your recording device, whatever it is, to capture it, because it's being given to you for a reason.
So that's a beautiful thought. It's being given to you for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we in society so many times are on automatic pilot, right? We just go, we do. And heart awareness, as I call it, is really just being able to hear that inspiration, right? We have to train ourselves to be able to hear it or see it before we can say, oh, I'm just going to take it. And one of the things, there's so many different tools that we can practice to allow us to do that, to take that breath, to say, wait a second, I just thought of something. I'm going to stop and I'm going to acknowledge it. And even if we don't have a pencil and we don't have a recording device with it, we have a moment of awareness. And moments of awareness, somehow they sneak into that little, I like to call heart memory that we have. And they're there. And we can go back and call upon them at another time. They may not be exactly those words, but the essence of the inspiration that came to us stays. As a matter of fact, I share in the concert about gratitude, because the whole concept of this concert was to have little pearl pods of different themes. And then the people that walk away from this concert will then have a strand of different pearl pods that can maybe be there for them, for their inspiration, for their moments of awareness. And one of the pearls that we talk about is gratitude, and how, we can have a moment of gratitude or joy or anything that happens, but let us keep that. And when we need it, we can call upon it at a different time. And so these inspirational moments of awareness that we have can be put into those little pods, those little pearl pods that we then put into our soul toolbox to have when we need them.
And it seems also that whether you record it in whatever format you record it, stone tablet and chisel, or current technological advancements, if you're able to even express it where you are right then and there, in other words, the words, and verbalize it. If a melody comes, great, verbalize it if you can.
Yeah.
Because that comes out and goes into the ear, even though it's in your mind, it's in your heart. It's like the rest of you needs to hear it too.
Oh, it's giving a voice to our inner voice, right?
Exactly.
Giving her voice. And in the end of the day, that's my intent by writing my morning inspirations, and by that book, that open it, read it, and maybe be an inspiration to something that then from there you will bring that forward, and I think in the end, we all have inspiration within us.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of who we are.
Yeah.
We just have to welcome it.
Absolutely. Susan Lax, my guest here on the program. SusanPLax.com is the website. And guess what, folks? You are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it's really a pleasure to have returning guests to our program. We've sort of gotten to know them, and if you have not yet heard our first interview, please go to the podcasts and look up the interview that we did originally with Susan P. Lax on A Heart's Landscape, and find out more in that regard. Go to her website as well and find out about the concert that's upcoming Sunday, the 26th of March, 2023. Now this isn't live. This has already been recorded, or is it live?
No, it's going to be live.
It is live. Okay.
It's live stream. It's live if in New York City. You're going to see
live from New York. It's
exactly
Susan P. Lax.
For the first time, like I'm going to be experiencing it. We're going to do this together.
How exciting. It really is. That must have been quite a was it a hurdle for you to get over to do something like this? Because you know that there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are going to be watching this thing, whether you can see them or not. You've got to feel them. Is there any level of intimidation, of nervousness in regards to this, or is it just, I'm just going to be in my space, knowing they're all out there, and here we go.
So I'm going to answer that in two parts. One is the first part. I'm so excited about this, and I'm so thrilled because I know that it will reach people and change a moment for them to make it better. For me, and that is the biggest of everything here. It's going to stay with people. There's going to be a beat. There's going to be a tune that they're going to be able to repeat. So that's number one. Number two, because it's in a hall where there's going to be an audience, a live audience. I'm going to feel the energy through them and through all those people, as I call it, in Zoom land. And remember, we're COVID people, right? We've lived in Zoom land. It's not something new, right?
That is true.
I've done workshops, and I've done worked and guided groups and people all through COVID. So, and it's not foreign to me.
Yeah,
it's not foreign. But I have to say, there are butterflies of excitement because I can't wait to feel the energy of everyone else.
Yeah. There are those, especially comedians, who say that, we all know what Zoom is and it ought to be outlawed. But I will tell you,
like that.
It's been a godsend for me because back on, I think it was Mother's Day of 2020, we set up a family Zoom to connect on that day with everybody. And at that time, we were all still here. My 4 sisters, my brother and I, and my mother and father. And since then, I have lost my eldest sister and my father. And that's raised a lot of interesting subjects and conversation. And there are times when I was like, I'm going to call my I'm going to call my older sister, and this is not my eldest, but she's my remaining older sister. We're very close, and we've stayed in contact. And she's kind of, as my mother put it, the sort of the glue that has helped keep things together. Even though she can't do a whole lot, she's got her own physical challenges. She still manages to keep things together in that regard. And I think, oh no, what am I going to say to her? I mean, she's going through her own stuff, and I need to call my mom and find out how she's doing, especially since the passing of my father and her husband, who she was married to for almost 66 years. And I think, no, I leave her alone. She's, and I'm thinking, maybe I don't really need to talk to. I just need to sit still and be quiet, And there are times when we need to do that. And I would venture that some of your inspirational thoughts, your morning inspirations, are geared in that direction, to where you don't need to do anything on the outside other than sit, be still, be quiet, and listen.
So I think, Richard, that one of the gifts that we have is our stillness, and we don't really acknowledge it all the time. It is that time that we can just sit still physically, and just in that moment, whatever it is, inspire ourselves to hear what we wanted to share with someone else. But I want to share with you that I think sometimes it's okay to just call someone and say, can you just be with me right now? Can you just be with me? Just be with me, nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's also okay to say, are you available? Are you available to be with me? And even though people are going through their own things that are hard and tough, sometimes they feel good that they're needed in a different way.
I've found sort of and this is more intellectual than anything else, paradox, that we as human beings, we need the connection with one another. Now, I'm not sure where the attachment comes in and whether that's necessarily healthy or not, but because we become attached to one another, mothers and fathers with their children, children with their parents, husbands with their wives, wives with their husbands, etc., friends and so forth. If we didn't become attached to one another, then maybe there wouldn't be this major upheaval when they go. And yet it's not something we can escape, because that's our nature, to connect. And maybe that's the wrong word, to attach. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's the wrong word, but I think you know where I'm kind of going with this. It's like, I have a brother. No matter what he thinks or believes, he will always be my brother, and my sisters and the same, and my mother, of course. And I don't tolerate people. I hate that word. I don't use that word. I accept them. And there's a big difference, because tolerate means I don't like anything you do. You go on and on about that. So I'm going to tolerate, I'm going to put up with you, basically. I'm going to put up with you and your craziness, and there's judgment there. But acceptance is, I accept you. I don't have to like the things that you say and do, but I need to accept you, because you have a right to be here just like I do. And that's a hard
connection. That definitely is a hard, but connections are essential. They're essential. No matter how, or they, and you're right, attachment is a little bit of a different word. And connection is, and some connections are deeper than others. And some connections we hold hands, and some connections we just verbalize, and some connections we embrace, and some connections we just stand next to each other, but they're all connections.
Mm.
And I think that is the gift of humanity. And, we'll be surprised about the courage and the power that the human spirit has. And one of the bases is there must be compassion.
Mm-hmm.
There must be. But we need to have acceptance for ourselves before we can even accept others, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have acceptance for ourselves, it's harder for us to accept others. And if we're constantly judging ourselves, we're going to judge others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy to do.
Oh, no.
And it's work.
Yeah.
But as you know, and I know you know this, that it's day by day, but even more so, it's moment by moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because a day is 24 hours. That's a long time. And if we can just take one moment at a time and say, in this moment, I'm going to be accepting. In this moment, I'm going to find a connection. It may grow to something different, but it can make that moment a good one.
Susan P. Lax, susanplax.com. By the way, that's Lax with an X at the end, LAX. Not the terminal or anything of that nature, but we are talking with her about
I've lost luggage there.
You've lost luggage there. Well, you'll get it back in the end. I will tell you, on the other side, they've got it for you waiting. This is what I've been told anyway, along with all of our lost single socks, I guess, that have disappeared over the years.
That is so correct.
Absolutely. And you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we're talking with Susan P. Lax and about the work that she has created for you and for me called A Heart's Landscape. And we certainly hope you will accept the invitation that she has extended to the concert that is the 26th of March, 2023. What's the time of the concert?
So physically, the doors open at 7, but the concert starts at 7:30.
And this is 7:30 Eastern?
Eastern, New York City time.
So that'll be 7:30, 4:30 Pacific.
That's
so
right.
Folks will have plenty of time on a Sunday. I don't know that there are any special sporting events or anything of this nature at that particular hour. So you'll be able to log in and go to susanplax.com and get all the particulars, register, sign up, get tickets. Is there going to, this may sound a little strange because most concerts, you have the opportunity to buy merchandise. Is there anything in relation, aside from the book, which we certainly hope people will get a copy of, is there anything else? T-shirts, hats, confetti?
I am going to be selling autographed books at the concert. And Shira I believe that Shira has butterflies that are her sign of who she is. And I believe there may be some of those things there and perhaps some of her shirts there.
Oh, okay. Now, you, aside from being an author, you have some other endeavors as well. You are a spiritual counselor, is that right?
That is correct.
How does that work?
That is correct.
How does that work?
It works.
Okay.
Really, I guide people to discover what's in them, to help them get through with what they're dealing with at the moment. I do not go back in the past. I do not go to the future. Those are different folks. Those are psychologists and therapists. I really just deal with the now and how can we make this moment matter.
Seems to be a common theme, especially amongst many of my guests, the now. We even have a local gentleman here in Santa Barbara who refers to himself as the nowist, because that seems to be a common theme right now. And I know that it's nothing new. I mean, this is something that we've been taught, or at least it's been elucidated on in all of the ancient wisdom teachings. Be in the present moment. The past isn't going to do you any good, and the future isn't either, because neither of them has happened. Matter of fact, I love this. There was a movie we were watching, and this was the question that came up. What 2 days never exist?
Mm-hmm.
And you start going through Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the 2 days that never exist are yesterday and tomorrow. And then the joke is, there was a sign outside a pub that said, free drinks tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, yesterday, Richard, has an importance for us to understand sometimes our now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that I don't think should not be dealt with. I think it should be dealt with, but there's a time to deal with it and a way to deal with it. And I think that tomorrow, it's not like we can't plan for tomorrow. That's important to put out there, because we can't just be in the moment of, okay, I'm talking to you, whatever happens, happens. So what if I don't have something to buy food with? So what if those things can't, but it's the parts of what gear our emotions is the now. What gears how we make it better right now. And sometimes we can learn from what was yesterday, right? We can learn from what was, and we're saying, you know what? I don't want that in my now anymore. I don't need that anymore. I've done my spring cleaning. I call it spiritual spring cleaning. I write a column for Patheos, for the magazine, the spiritual magazine Patheos. And I just wrote one this weekend last week about spiritual cleaning, because, the now allows us to do that. We don't need a lot of what was yesterday, but it's part of our story.
Mm-hmm.
And the future, it doesn't help for us to worry about it, but it may help us to plan for it. That's the difference.
Yeah. And then there's dreams. And we talk about how we want to provide people choices and knowledge of those choices to help make their dreams come true. You provide another choice, morning inspirations, a heart's landscape, if you will. And that's going to give people food for thought, as they say, give someone a different perspective. I like using the analogy of a circle, and there are points on this circle. And what we want to do is we want to move around from point to point to point to point to point, as many as we can, viewing the event that's taking place in the middle of that circle. And that way we have a better understanding, because we as human beings do tend to jump, almost knee-jerk reaction, when someone says something and we think that's true. And then as more information comes out, as it's further researched, that wasn't exactly what I thought it was. Now I have to change my position. Which of course leads it to another old wise saying that I was given as at the age of 21. It is better to begin in doubt and end in certainty than to begin in certainty than end in doubt. And I find it fascinating that we do this over and over again, and we never learn the lessons that, wait a minute, this just happened. There is absolutely no way that I could have all of the information needed to make any kind of an evaluation or judgment, if you will, on this circumstance. I better reserve judgment, if I'm going to judge, until I get more information. It's one of the things that I find so fascinating about our society today is in whatever the situation is, knee-jerk reaction to these kinds of things. And we need to, even in our own personal lives.
That's where it starts from.
Yeah.
We must start from where we are, because we have to be accept ourselves for the beautiful souls we are. And we are beautiful souls. All of us. The pain, the joy, the sadness, the hurt, the funny, the glorious, all of us. And, I think that is one of my constant messages that I try to give out there, is that be gentle with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Because when we are that way with ourselves, we start being that way with others.
Talk to us a little bit about one thing I want to talk about is our intuition. And we're going to do that as we continue talking with Susan Lax here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. SusanPLax.com is the website. A Heart's Landscape is the book. A concert on the 26th of March of this year. We're linked to your website, SusanPLax.com. What about sitting still, going within, and listening to that still small voice, but beyond that, following the promptings of that still small voice?
Like anything else, it's practice. It's practice. When I guide someone through meditation, and they'll say to me, look, there's no way I'm sitting more than 30 seconds. I just absolutely cannot do it. And I may differ from other meditation teachers. I don't think there's a right and a wrong way to do meditation. I believe there's a way that works for your soul and for your heart. And so there are different ways to do that. We could sit for 30 seconds and we can listen to music. Someone could guide us. It could be 40 seconds. Or we may need movement to do that. And the more we practice, so as I share in the concert, there's a song that's, I tell people to put their hand on their heart and feel the miracle of who they are. And what do we do in order to feel the miracle of who we are? So in all honesty, I go into a room sometimes and I close the door. I put on any music and I start dancing. I just dance away. I take my mind, I say, you sit this one out. This is just for my body, my soul, and my heart. Sorry. And all of a sudden, there's a clarity. Like there's a new plate of colors that an artist has that I'm able to start coloring my new moments. So there are different tools, but it's called practicing, just like anything else, Richard. I can't hear you.
It's interesting because you talk about this from the standpoint of someone who has sort of, I don't want to say mastered the art of getting to mind to sit still for a while. I remember learning meditation or learning about meditation in the 80s, and it was always, you got to quiet the mind. You got to get it to shut up and sit down and do nothing, almost making an enemy of it.
Right.
And then of late, in the last 10 or 15 years, I've learned a little bit more about how, well, really what you knew is just, I think you need to befriend the mind and say, okay, look, I need to take some time for me. I need to go into this quiet place and I need to listen. And when I come back, you and I were going to have some fun. And then one of my guests had this wonderful insight. He said, think of your mind as a little child and say, you can come with me, but you got to be quiet. Okay? You got to be quiet, but you can come. All right? So now you're incorporating the mind into the process and saying, this space is my space. And I am inviting you in as long as you stay quiet.
Right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the more we practice these things, because our mind can kidnap us. Our mind can kidnap us and hold us hostage. And guess what? Hello, I'm here. I don't want to be kidnapped by anybody, And so I think it's really, to go back to the question about intuition, is by doing all these different things, we learn to hear, we learn to listen, and we learn to trust. It's not just hearing it, it's trusting what we're hearing. And I think that that's a big part of it.
Oh, yeah, that aspect of trust. And I know that you and I both have had experiences where I can't do that. No. That goes against the plan that I have created in my mind, in my intellect. You don't know what, no. And I had that situation happen once, and I fought it, and it wouldn't go away. Now, bear in mind, it was still my choice. Okay, it was always my choice. I finally acquiesced. All right, okay, I'll do it. A few days later, I'm glad I did it.
Right?
Because I can look back and see, if I hadn't done that, oh my goodness, the floodwaters would have overtaken me. So there are times when we struggle with that. But as you say, the more you practice, the more that it becomes second nature. But I would venture, even with you, there still come those moments when you go, I'm not sure, maybe not. And yet it's like, well, wait a minute. Why are you listening then?
Oh, all the time. You know, I think, first of all, when those questions come up, should I, shouldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Many times I say, okay, I'll just be in the question. I don't need the answer right now. Just relax in the question. And somehow when I do that, the answer that coordinates with my heart, and I say with my heart, which is the correct for my soul, it appears. And I don't have to debate, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? I think that's a big part of it. Because remember that questions can be our friends. The answers are not always the most important part.
And I have begun to better understand regarding questions. I've heard this many times. The answer's actually in your question. And I've begun to experience that from time to time. And believe it or not, there have been times when the answer is, do you realize how irrelevant that question is?
Correct.
You know?
Correct. It's, it's really, I think the whole picture comes up as saying, hey, I'm okay. Question comes, I'll be with the question. The answer will come, it'll be all right. We can't do that all the time. There's no way. We can't be joyful all the time. We can't be grateful all the time. We can't be mindful all the time. It just doesn't happen. But just a little bit. Yeah. And then that little bit somehow grows and becomes contagious and grows a little more. So don't aim, and everybody who's listening to us is going, oh, Susan is all the time joyful, all the time grateful, all the time mindful. No, that does not happen. Trust me. And
we go through phases. We go through phases throughout our life. Yeah. A Heart's Landscape, an invitation to the Garden of Moments by Susan Lax. And of course, when you are challenged, as we all are, how do you tap into your moment of joy? That's a rather interesting question. And first of all, I want to get your definition. What do you consider joy?
Joy is on that beautiful bouquet of emotions that we are given. She sits there and she lives within us. And again, in my concert, we talk about this. We sing about this. But joy can sometimes be, I don't want to hear about joy. This is not a joyful time for me. Don't tell me, oh, be joy, especially around the holidays. Not everybody goes, oh, it's so joyful. That doesn't happen. But if we're persistent and we keep inviting her back, we keep inviting, she will show up sometimes at the most surprising time because she lives within us. We can't go buy her in a store. We can't go on a searching. Where are we going to find joy? She doesn't live on a shelf or a drawer or in another country. She lives within each one of us.
And interesting because I had a conversation at the lunch table with my brother and my mother, while I was back for my father's memorial. And
Mm.
he was asking me about my journey. He says, I understand you missed your flight on the way here. I had taken a train from Santa Barbara to Burbank Airport, raced as fast as I could to the terminal. Turns out my gate was at the far end of the terminal. I got through TSA and I am running. And I get there and, are you Mr. Dugan? Yeah, you missed your flight. They've already closed the doors.
Oh.
But I'm right here and the flight doesn't take off for another 15 minutes. I said, I'm sorry, but, and I'm not going to be one of those nutballs who goes berserk and you're going to open those doors because I'm not going to go.
Right.
Okay. I caught my breath and I said, okay, what can we do? Because I need to get to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so forth. So they put me on standby for the next flight. And of course, I told them why I was needing to get there. And there were 10 people ahead of me. I don't know whether they were bumped for me because, needless to say, I was on the next flight out, got to Phoenix, and everything was fine. So my brother, he's questioning me. Well, weren't you worried about that? No, it was just part of the adventure. He says, well, wasn't being here important? I says, well, of course it was important, but my getting all bent out of shape, by the way, that's one of my father's phrases, my getting all bent out of shape was not going to get me to Phoenix any faster. They could have gotten me on a flight on a different airline, but I would have gotten there late. I could have rented a car, but there's no way I was going to drive in the driving rain that particular day across the desert to try to, to get there, and so forth. Of course, it was important to me. But for me, traveling and all of the challenges that it brings with it is nothing more than part of the adventure. Plus the fact that I got to meet and get to know this 82-year-old widower who loves to travel. He used to fly his own airplanes. He's a pilot. He's from the Midwest and all of this. I mean, I got to have this wonderful conversation with this gentleman.
Right,
which is sort of part of my deal is I'm very gregarious in that way, and I find out that of course my father was too. So for me that was joyous. I'm
that was
suffering.
A moment of joy.
Yeah, I am now suffering a little injury to my arm that was carrying my suitcase, which was a little of our briefcase, which was a little on the heavy side. But that'll get better. I mean, it's temporary too. But when you talk about joy, it's those kinds of situations, for example, where if you can find the joy in that moment, especially, and if it is you're traveling, disconnect from the turmoil that you.
You know what I say? I say instead of finding the joy, invite the joy.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Intent is very important. Very important. What's the difference in your perspective between joy, happiness, and bliss?
So many times I've asked all of that question, and I think each one of them evokes something in us. And there are times that happy is just, and there are times that bliss are like, wow. And there are some of joy are like, yes. It depends on the moment. And I think that they all in the end connect to allowing a smile to come upon our face. And that's the most important thing.
Well, I certainly did have a smile on my face. And it's interesting because I won't say in spite of, I'm going to say even because of the reason why I was traveling to Phoenix.
Yeah.
I was joyous for the experience that I was having, for the destination in terms of being together with family that I don't get to do that. And the last 2 times now have been to memorialize a family member, but at least I'm there and I get a chance to share that time with my brother and sisters and mother.
Right.
And not even to contemplate my own mortality, I've made peace with all of that. If today's my day, I'm good to go. Please don't take me today. There's still a lot more that I want to do, but
Right.
I can't control that. That isn't up to
Correct.
me.
Correct.
And I'm going to do my utmost not to do anything foolish to precipitate the situation. But do you find that a lot of people not just struggle with this concept of their own mortality, which is really a false concept because it's only the physical body that's mortal. That which makes us who we are is immortal. It lives forever. That they struggle with that whole idea, and we have a real hard time as human beings because we don't see ourselves as spiritual beings having a human experience. We see ourselves as human beings having a human experience. And
we don't talk about death in
Yeah.
and I believe that just as we talk about birth, I think it's so important to talk about death. And the conversation about death is not something that should be forbidden. It should be something welcome. And I think, we prepare so much when a baby's coming into this world. I'm a grandmother of 5 at this point since last we spoke.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. And so there's so much that goes into preparation for these babies. The parents go to learn how to be parents, how to give birth, all this equipment, the grandparents, of this, of that. There's so much. And what do we do to welcome this new human spirit that's entering this world? Yet we don't talk about the death. We don't talk about that is. And I think that when the conversation is out there and we talk about it, all of a sudden, just like anything else, fear just comes by to visit. It doesn't stay.
Yeah.
And, if we acknowledge that that's fearful and we talk about it, the fear isn't the main part about death anymore. And so I encourage, talk about it. It's going to happen.
To all of us.
All of us.
One of my father's wise sayings: eat, drink, and be merry in moderation, because nobody gets out of this world alive.
Yeah.
And there are 2 elements to my father's passing I'll share with you. Number one, that my mother and one of my sisters and one of my nieces and my brother-in-law of my late sister, they were around my father before his passing, and they were singing songs. They brought a bunch of chairs around his bed, and they were singing songs, traveling songs, hymns, just whatever it is that came to mind. And he passed through that process, to which my mother says that she says, we sang him up to heaven, which I thought was really kind of cool. But she told...
What a beautiful exit. What a beautiful gift for all of you and for him.
I wish I had been actually physically there to experience that, but still I'm very much aware of that energy. But she told me that she said to my father, even though he was unconscious at the time, he says, you can go. You can go, and when you go, you're going to be able to see again. You're going to be able to hear. And then I added to that, even though I wasn't there at the time, I said, and you are going to be able to walk without falling down.
Wow.
And so that was pretty cool. I am really grateful for what we have talked about here on the program today. And ladies and gentlemen, just as a reminder, this program is, of course, Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we're talking with Susan Lax and her work, The Heart's Landscape, A Heart's Landscape. And I want to thank you for giving us so much time here on the program. I really appreciate it. And I have 3 final questions. These may be a little different than the ones I asked you the last time you were on the program, but most appreciative. And the first of those 3 questions is, who is Susan Lax?
I am, first, most important, a member of humanity, and very glad that I am. And number 2, I am a woman. And number 3, I am a partner in love and life with someone, and a mother and a grandmother.
What is your life's purpose?
To smile at least once a day by connecting with someone and enjoying a moment together.
And what was your best day?
My best day, wow, my best day ever was when it became a better day after being a bad one.
Once again, I thank you, Susan Lax, for joining us, susanplax.com. And that concert, March 26th, 2023, 7 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. actually. Doors open at 7. 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Go to susanplax.com to find out more. And we thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am listening. And Dad, be happy.